Hello there and welcome back to Bastion Entertainment. Today we'll be starting part 3 of our Game Maker Basics. In this video we'll be using Krita to create some assets for our room. We'll then convert those assets to Sprite within Game Maker, and with those sprites we'll create interactive objects to place into our room. This video will be incorporating some light GML to make our objects function. In part 1 of this series, we set up a top-down 4-directional sprite with simple input handling. There are up, down, left, right keys. In the second video, we tackled adding assets to our room for our sprite to walk around on, as well as adding a drop shadow to our SPR player character. So I've created kind of like a stone arch or gate, and we'll put our door sprite within that. Make sure you make these pieces of art separate and save them to 2 PNG files that are the same size. Next we'll create our switch or our lever, and to let the player know that the switch has been activated, I'm going to add like a bluish glow. Let's set the stage by giving our character some steps to approach the door and a little side area where we can place our switch or lever. First thing you're going to want to do is set up 2 different sprites, and we're going to import the closed version of the switch and the open version of the switch. Initially we're going to create 2 different sprites, but then we're going to combine this into one sprite with 2 frames, one representing closed and one representing open. So the only reason I created 2 separate sprites is so that we can go in and use our selection tool, and we're going to copy and paste that, and that'll create a stamp that we can use in our initial sprite or our final sprite. Set your frames per second to 0 because we want this sprite to remain in the closed position and only switch when we tell it to. Now create an object and apply the sprite that we've just created. We're going to call this object obj_lever. Below your object at the very bottom, you'll find a tab called Variable Definitions. Click this tab and it'll open a second window. In the name of your variable definitions, you're going to type gate_to_open. And your default, set this to noon or none, N-O-O-N-E. Set your type to expression. At this point you'll create a new object, and we're going to call this object obj_gate. And to the gate, which is just the wooden door or the brown door that you see, we're going to add some code. This way our gate will interact with the lever object that we created. Add a create event to obj_gate. In this create event, the code should read image_speed equals 0. Don't forget your semicolon. After that, create an event under other. You'll see animation end. In your animation end event, we're going to type instance_destroy. And we're going to leave these brackets empty. Next we're going to create an object, and we're going to call this object obj_collision_parent. This will be the object that controls the collision for the objects in our rooms. You won't have to upload a sprite for this object, but instead go down to parent, and under children you'll notice a little add button. Click the add button and add obj_gate, obj_lever, and obj_SPR_player to the collision. Go to your object_SPR_player and add a new event. We're going to be adding a collision event with the collision parent that we've just created, so that the object sprite can interact with all the objects that we assign to this parent. Add these lines to the event that you've just created, And as you can see, this is quite a chunk of code. And just like the last two videos, I will provide the code in the description below. Now we're going to add a similar event to our object lever. Make sure you've got your obj_lever selected and add an event that is a collision with the obj_spr_player. Once again, this code is available in the description below. Now let's animate our door. Select spr_gate, and we're going to edit this image so that the door opens. Now all I've done here is I've duplicated the last frame repeatedly, and I've used the selection tool to move it up by 4 pixels. You can adjust the speed by adding more or less pixels. I chose to go with 16 frames to achieve the smooth animation that I was going for. It should automatically select the collision mask and set it to automatic and rectangle shape, which should fit the door perfectly. Now we're going to start adding the sprite assets and objects to our room so we can get them functioning. In this case, when you're dealing with assets and backgrounds, make sure you're on the appropriate layer. And when you're dealing with objects, make sure you're on the instances layer. Go into your instances layer and select the door that we've created. Now it's very important that you select the door and not the archway. All we have to do here is rename this particular door Gate 1. This will let GameMaker know which door the lever will open. Now open up your lever and select the Variables tab. It should already be set gate to open because of the variable definitions we set up earlier. Make sure the type is expression. You'll notice an edit button next to the value. Go ahead and select that and type gate 1, which is the object instance that we've just created. Go ahead and run your game, and the results should look like this. We should have a door with collision and a lever with an interactive sprite that opens the gate. I really hope you found this video helpful, and if you haven't already, check out parts 1 and 2 of our Game Maker Basics. Until next time, happy coding and happy game making.